Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Okay. So we were discussing Mulavidya Nirasa. There is a gap of few days. Anyway, there are many reasons. Now, 11th point. In the 11th passage, first point is 3 points he mentions here. 2 points we discussed and third one we have to continue. Those 2 points I just repeat briefly and go ahead. When the meaning of a Shastra Vakyam, meaning of a text is disputed, you can't just quote it like that when its meaning is differed by others, disagreed by others. That means the sentence is taken in one meaning by somebody, another interpretation is given by others. If there is a one common unanimous interpretation, that means it is a naturally the meaning which naturally flows from the sentence. One shouldn't impose with one's prejudice. It should be a natural meaning. So if the meaning is, if there is a dispute regarding the meaning of it, then what happens? We have to determine the right meaning with the help of the rules of Mimamsa. Mimamsa means determining the meaning of a sentence according to the rules of Mimamsa. Okay. Or when there is a dispute about the very text, we don't accept the text at all. Then you have to use directly independent logic. You have to use logic alone to explain the thing, where the quotation, the text is not directly accepted. One needs to give him a logic. That means you explain to him logically. Okay. One point is, when a person doesn't believe in the very text, explain to him logically. Or the second situation is, both of them accept the text. Both of them accept Upanishad as a pramanam. But regarding the same Upanishad, each one gives 2 different interpretations. Each one gives his own interpretation. So, regarding the text, they agree. But regarding the meaning, they differ. Then I can't quote the same text and I say, this is what the Upanishad says. You also quote, this is what the Upanishad. Both of us quote the same sentence, but to support some other meaning. I take the same quotation to justify or as a testimony to my idea, and you take it to defend another idea. Then how can you discuss? Can we discuss in this situation? First point, one person believes one text, one person believes Upanishads. Therefore, you give the Upanishadic statement, oh, he accepts it. Other person, I quote Upanishadic statement. He says that Upanishad is not valid. That means we don't believe in Upanishad. May be valid, may not valid is a different point. But just because Upanishad said it, I need not accept. You show me something convincing to me. If he is not convinced by just quoting a statement, then you have to explain how what the statement says is convincing, is acceptable, is logical. See, what the statement says, how it is convincing, how it is acceptable, you have to explain. When I don't accept if I accept the Upanishad, just to quote it, the problem is over. You also accept, I also accept. But there is one person who doesn't accept the Upanishad, doesn't base his thinking on Upanishads. Upanishads may be right, may not be right, we leave them. But I want to understand a thing which is convincing to me. You explain to me in a convincingly, I accept. Convincing explanation is the point, not a quotation, maybe quotation, may not be quotation. It may be a quotation, may not be quotation in material, but it should be convincing to me. Somebody says that. To such a person, do you quote the quotation and leave it? Or set aside the quotation for a while and explain to him? Okay. So another 2 points I told. One point, both of us accept Upanishad, but both of us give a different meaning. Take a different meaning. Then you have to harmonize the meaning. You have to determine what is the real meaning of the statement. Real meaning of the Upanishadic statement, first you determine. After determining it, then quote it in order to prove a point. In order to prove a point, you will be in a position to quote a statement if the meaning of the statement itself is agreed by all. You can't quote a statement whose meaning itself is disputed. You have another meaning, I have taken another meaning, yet I quote it. It doesn't work because the discussion can't run. I quote this quotation statement, taking it as what you call purporting or giving some meaning, supporting some meaning, but you take it, no, the sentence doesn't mean it, it means something else. That means I quote, but it is not supporting the idea which I am trying to defend, because the quotation doesn't give rise to that meaning, because he takes a different meaning. Then what happened? Two people should come together. What exactly is the meaning of the statement? First, let us decide. If the statement, whatever the natural meaning, whatever the meaning comes naturally flows from the sentence, that should be taken. We should not twist it, pressurize it, overstretch it and take the meaning. Don't overstretch it. The meaning which naturally flows from the sentence, from the context. Take the previous sentence, later sentence, take the context of the whole chapter, but let the meaning of the sentence flow naturally from it. It should not be stretched, overstretched, twisted or imposed. The meaning shouldn't be imposed, stretched, overstretched, etc. Meaning should be naturally flowing from the sentence in that context. Okay. Therefore, without considering these things, I have repeated them. So Swamiji says, without considering these things, people just quote anything, argue anything, whether the other person accepts or not. They start attacking them, criticizing them as a prejudiced fellow, he's incapable of understanding, he's a only prejudiced person, doesn't listen, or he's unfit for it. Like this, we keep attacking them personally, where the real problem is in the very way of discussion. The real defects are in the way of discussion. Leaving out these discussions. See, you just take a quotation and that person says the quotation doesn't mean it. Oh, you are prejudiced. This is what the meaning it is. What I have told, I have already proven. You are not accepting it. I have already proven. You claim that you have proven. Oh, sorry. This is the problem. I have removed the earphone. I forgot. I don't know. So, people have, now I put the earphone, you can, this recording, offline recording for the YouTube. Just now I put the earphone, I think hereafter you can hear better. So far I think it must have been a low voice. You have to put the earphone and listen, I can't help. This 5 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes. Now hereafter you can hear better. Okay. So, see, there should be certain norms of discussion. If you fail to follow these basic principles, communication becomes difficult. A discussion becomes impossible. Each one claims his own idea. Each one claims that he alone is right. Then there is no communication. The purpose of discussion is communication, convincing one another. You fail to convince, you won't be able to convince another person also fail to accept it, cannot accept it, because you are talking something unacceptable, objectionable, unconvincing thing you are talking. And just I claim that I have already produced the quotation, he is not accepting, oh, he is highly prejudiced, so we need not talk to him, just dismiss him. Now they try to manipulate that my book is very popular, or you take the prefaces of all important people, that my book is awarded by somebody, or some university accepted, some scholars accepted. Now you try to use other things try to use other extraneous things to carry the weight, to give weightage to your book. But these are all external things. All these manipulations are happening even now. Rajiv Malhotra is struggling hard. In Europe, they dismiss his books, they have some PhDs, etc. The university recognizes, they do all sorts of things. But the real topic, they won't listen. They won't listen. He says the same thing. I am an insider of Hinduism. I studied from a guru, born as a guru, live as a guru, and I studied it. And I have got a guru, I learnt it, Hinduism. When I try to present it with quotation and with logic, still they refuse to listen. They say, no, we can't accept you. See, a person who is born and brought up in Hinduism, studied well, and he has got a traditionally studied from a guru, and he is explaining, showing a quotation, he knows Sanskrit and explaining logically point by point, they refuse to listen because they already have a certain interpretation. Our interpretation alone is standard and final. Even the traditional Swamiji says we don't accept it. Even a traditional Pandita says, living in India, also we don't accept. Our interpretation alone is the meaning. If this way you go it, then these are all extraneous factors influencing. Swamiji says here, there should be a healthy way of communication. The debate, purpose of debate is arriving at a truth acceptable to all. See, arriving at a truth acceptable to all, because what is acceptable to all is universal truth. See, of course, if a person is open, if he is prejudiced, nobody can help. That's a different. If a person deliberately, intentionally closes his mind and doesn't want to listen, and then nobody can convince him. So that we need not consider. But a person is really open, listens to logic, yet if you cannot convincingly explain to him, if you cannot convince him by explaining, then the defect lies with you. The problem is with you. The person is open, is willing to listen, then you have to explain to him. Then only communication is possible, because truth is not personal. The truth is not a personal experience, it is a universal fact. A universal fact is universally available, universally understandable. See, what is truth? Truth is universal. A universal fact is universally available, universally understandable. Of course, if you are open, if you are prejudiced and closed mind, no point in talking to him, because even a common factor, which is an open fact also, he refuses to see. That is different. We exclude such person, we don't consider. But a person who is open, we should be able to show him, because the fact is universal, universal is available, universal, a fact is a universal truth is universally available and universally acceptable. That means everybody can see it in his anubhava. Then only we call it a fact. So we are discussing the universal truth, not a private, personal, exclusive truth. What is private, personal is not a universal truth. What is not universal cannot be truth. Okay, it becomes you wrote private, personal. So universal truth is not private and personal. It is universally available, universally experienced, universally understandable. If he is open, of course, on the condition that that he should be open, then you should be. Then regarding such topic, it is easily communicable. What is a universal fact can be easily communicated, because the universal fact is universally available to you, to me, and to anybody. Then what is a universal experience? I can point out. You also can see. You can point out. I can see, because it is available for all. What is a universal fact? Anybody should be able to see. Then communication is possible. Communication is possible. In fact, communication is possible only in such fact. Only in the universal fact alone communication, a healthy communication is possible, and it should be done. We have to carry on that healthy communication, because there alone it is possible. It is not a private personal whims and fancies. It is a universal fact. Universal fact is universally available. Okay, third point. Yatra punaha shastra tatparyameva naparam. Because third point Swamiji says, where the dispute is not only about the meaning of the shastra. See, there is the dispute, disagreement regarding the meaning of a statement. Not only there is a disagreement regarding the meaning of a given statement, but regarding the anubhava also there is a dispute. Yatra punaha shastra tatparyameva naparam kintu anubhavopi ansartavyo bhavati. Because this is a universal fact. A universal, if it is only a matter of a book alone, there we have to follow these 2 points so far we have discussed. Now we are discussing, just now I have touched it, universal. So it is what is a universal fact? Anubhavam, we have to follow the anubhava. Anubhava means universal intuition, universal experience. We have to take universal experience into consideration where it is necessary. Yatha Atma Tattva Jignasayam, regarding the Atma Tattva, you have to take universal experience into consideration, not private, personal, universal experience into consideration. Because the truth is such. What about the truth? The truth is such. Such means the truth is universal. Since it is a universal truth, so depending upon a statement, depending upon a holy text, depending upon logic, these two are not enough. Depending upon a Shastra text, holy text, depending upon logic is not enough. You have to refer to the universal experience, because it is a universal experience and it can be referred, therefore it must be referred to. Since it is a matter of universal experience, it can be referred to clinch the issue, to make it agreeable to all, acceptable to all. Since it is a matter of universal experience, you have to refer to, it can be referred and it must be referred to. Therefore, yatra punaha shastra tatparyameva naparam kintu anubhavopi ansartavyo bhavati. Where anubhava also has to be referred to. Yatha, for example, for instance, about Atma Tattvam, the truth of the Atman, the real nature, regarding the inquiry into the real nature of Atman, universal experience can be referred and must be referred to. Tatra shastropanyasataha purvam anubhavashrayanamena abhyarhitavyam. In that matter, regarding the Atma Tattva, which is a universal experience, taking Upanishad is not enough. Because a holy text may be true, but just because somebody said it, it doesn't become true unless what he said tallies with my experience, because the truth is a universal experience. So what somebody says may be true, but how do you know that what that Upanishad says true? Unless that Upanishadic statement concurs with my universal experience. Okay? Without referring, without verifying whether the Upanishadic statement concurs with the universal experience, just you accept because it is Upanishadic, then you don't know. It is a blind acceptance. What Upanishad says may be right, but without verifying, how can we accept? See, somebody may say right. What somebody says may be right, but it becomes right, it constitutes right, it constitutes correct only when it is verified. It is right only when it is verified in our experience. It may be right, but it comes out right, it turns out right only on verification. Only when it concurs with our universal experience. Otherwise, the truth is verifiable, but you don't verify and believe it. See, truth is verifiable, but you believe it without verifying. If you believe it is okay, you are not wrong, but you won't get the advantage of referring your anubhava. Okay, verifying in your anubhava. Because when you verify, it becomes a fact for you. You come to know it, you come to understand the fact. Otherwise, you can believe, but you can't understand. Okay, so he says, Shastropanyasataha purvam anubhavashrayanameva abhyarhitam. Therefore, before you depend on the quotation, first you refer to the anubhava. Then before you refer to the simple logic, next point comes even the logic also. I think logic, Swamiji himself may refer. Yeah, he will refer the logic in the next point. First we say, before you simply bring a quotation, how do you know the quotation is talking right thing? Quotation is telling the right thing. Quotation, the sentence which you quote, we don't know whether it is Upanishadic or somebody's statement. We don't know, the statement may be telling wrong. Statement may not be talking the truth. It might have made mistake, or you must have remembered wrongly. You might be quoting wrongly. How do we know? Or you may quoting it in a wrong sense, or out of context. Or you quote from one place and thinking that it is referring to something else, another context. Or you think that it is an Upanishadic, but it is not actually Upanishad, it belongs to somebody else. How do we know? How do we verify all these things? Therefore, instead of depending upon a quotation which is so uncertain, which is not so sure of the truth, first refer to the universal experience about which we can be so sure of, and there can be no disagreement, no differences, because this truth is Atma Tattvam, is universal experience. What is universal is, as I told you, I am repeating, what is truth must be universal, must be a universal experience, must be a universal fact. A universal fact is universally available and universally verifiable. Okay? A truth must be a universal fact. That universal fact is universally available. It should be available for universal verification. Then regarding that truth, what is most important is directly referring to the anubhava rather than leaving out the experience, leaving out the universal experience, depending on quotation, doesn't convince people, doesn't communicate the truth, gives rise to more unnecessary arguments rather than settling the dispute, rather than convincing the truth. It doesn't settle the dispute, doesn't convince the other person, because what really convinces is direct experience, because it is a universal fact. A universal fact has to be seen as a universal fact alone. Then it convinces and the problem is settled. So, if you simply quote, then you say may be true, may not be true. How do we know? Therefore, first take to the universal experience, refer to that. Refer to that, Swamiji says. So it resolves all the confusions, all unnecessarily arguments, unnecessary debate and disputes, because universal fact is universally acceptable, universally undeniable, universally settles the problem, permanently settles the problem, and gives room for no doubt, gives room for no doubt, no dispute, because all disputes, all doubts are cleared. Where? When it is a universal experience, there alone all doubts are cleared, all disputes are set aside, cleared. nobody, undeniable it becomes, because it's a universal experience. Okay, therefore base your discussion on the universal experience. Let everybody refer to universal experience alone. Then the discussion becomes easy. Communication becomes easy. It is enjoyable, fruitful. The discussion is enjoyable, fruitful, and interesting. The discussion becomes interesting, enjoyable, and also fruitful, because it culminates in proving a fact. Proving means you also see, I also see, no dispute arises, is a universal fact, universally understood. If one person understands, another person doesn't understand. If it is your personal experience and not in my experience, people can't accept. Oh, this power is, internet connection is becoming poor. Shall we wait? So, it is a universal experience. First you refer, Swamiji says, first refer to the universal experience. That settles all disputes. That removes all disagreements. Because where we all come to the one point, our personal standpoints, individual views, personal private experiences set aside, come to a universal experience. It is beyond a dispute. It is undeniable. Everybody comes to realize it. Communication is easy. Solving the disputes are easy. Removing the disagreement is also easy. Okay? So, yatra punaha shastra tatparyameva naparam kintu anubhavopi anusartavyo bhavati. Yatha atma tattva jignasayam tatra shastropanyasatah purvam anubhavashrayanameva abhyarhitam. Therefore, what? Abhyarhitam, preferred. Abhyarhitam is a preferred. So, this is a preferred. What is preferred is anubhava shastropanyasatah purvam. Before you refer to a holy text, referring to the anubhavashrayanam, depending upon anubhava, referring to the universal anubhava is preferred, is preferable. Abhyarhitam. Swamiji's Sanskrit is beautiful. Abhyarhitam, preferable. Okay. Anubhava avasanatvat jignasayaha, because this Vedanta jignasa, Atma jignasa, culminates in anubhava. If it doesn't culminate, the jignasa, the searching for universal truth, culminates in discovery of the universal truth. Because if the truth is universal, but if the search doesn't culminate in universal experience, the search remains search alone, still on the way. If you don't come to the universal experience, however you discuss, whatever arguments, quotations, any number of books, any number of arguments you bring, still it remains a big question mark, because we don't know what is what. Because the real basis for settling the dispute is not taken into consideration. The final solution, the real universal solution is the universal experience. If you don't refer to the universal experience, the jignasa will not come to an end. Jignasa means a search. Search will not culminate. Anubhava avasanatvat jignasayah. The jignasa culminates in anubhava. He says, to the intuition is warranted before quoting the scriptural text, because this inquiry into the Atman has to culminate in the intuition. And it is not a logical conviction. It is not a logicality, reasonability of the argument, reasonability of the idea. We are not convincing a person its logical tenability. How this idea is probable, logically tenable, we are not convincing in that sense, because it is not an idea. If it were idea, if it could be understood only as an idea, then you could use only logical tenability, logically acceptability. Here it is not logical acceptability. Even if you are convinced logically, still the big question mark remains, because if Anubhava is not referred to. Therefore, Jignasa culminates in Anubhava, not in intellectual conviction, logical acceptability, logical tenability. Okay? It is not a logical tenability, has to culminate in the intuition, a universal intuition. Okay? In this connection, Sri Shankaracharya says, Swamiji quotes Shankara Bhashyam. In the footnotes, I just read out, Na dharma jignasayam eva shrutyadaya pramanam brahma jignasayam kintu shrutyadayo anubhavadayascha yatha sambhavameha pramanam. See, in dharma jignasa determining what is dharma. Dharma can mean sadhana, dharma can mean the result, both. The result of dharma is swarga, the sadhana is whatever different sadhanas according to adhikari, according to the context, time, place, etc., varna, ashrama, different sadhanas are given. All of them come under dharma. So, in determining what is dharma, you have to depend on the quotation. What the quotation ultimately decides, says, decisively says, that determines what is dharma, because it cannot be verified in your anubhava. Then the result of dharma is swarga. How do you determine? Since it is a book based, you have to depend upon the book alone. So dharma jignasayam, regarding dharma jignasa, means in inquiry into the nature of dharma, what is dharma and what is the dharma palam, regarding that only shruti is enough. That means shruti, smriti, only text is enough. Textual criticism is enough. Analyzing the text is enough. And arrive at an idea. What is the idea of the text? It is what is the idea it is trying to convey. You take it an opinion of the Shastra. This is the ultimate idea of the Shastra. If you can arrive at it, is now there what do you see? You only see that it should not contradict other quotations, or it should not be illogical. Only two things you have to take into. Regarding dharma jignasa, you have to see what one Shastra says should not contradict with other statements of the Shastra. Second point is, it should not contradict logic. That means it should not be illogical. It should not be illogical. It should not contradict other statements. So such an idea, if you arrive at, which is logically acceptable, at the same time doesn't contradict other quotations, other statements of the Veda, of the Shastra, Shruti, Smriti, etc., then that idea you arrived at is considered as a dharma. No reference to anubhava, because dharma cannot be, swarga cannot be seen right now in your anubhava. Swarga anubhava is an anubhava which you are going to get it later after the death of the body. You go to some place, there alone you will get it. It is a limited, it is a limited experience belonging to a particular location, particular area, particular place. It is not a universal experience, a universal fact. Therefore, while staying in Bhuloka, you can only accept it as an idea of the Shastra. You can arrive at it as an idea of the Shastra, no experience is not available for verification. Okay, regarding dharma palam, anubhava is not available. It should be logical, this much we say. Even the Shastra quotation cannot be illogical. You believe anything and something will happen, it can't be so illogical. It has to be logical, and it should not contradict with other statements of the Shastra. This much is enough regarding dharma. But whereas regarding Brahma jignasa, kintu dharma jignasayam eva shrutyadaya eva pramanam Brahma jignasayam, in the inquiry into nature of Brahman, taking Shruti quotation, taking logic is not enough. That means you have to determine the meaning of a Upanishadic statements without contradicting with other statements of the Upanishads. All the statements should combine harmoniously and arrive at a one purport, one unanimous purport, all the Upanishadic statements without contradicting with each other, rather harmonizing with each other. They all should point out one vision, one central idea. Okay. The sentences, without contradicting with each other, should be able to point out one central idea. Okay. So here, determining the central idea or purport of the Upanishad is one point, and it should not be illogical. It should be in keeping with logic, logically acceptable. It can't be too illogical. It should be acceptable. Second point, one is harmonizing all the statements of the Upanishads and one purport, a single purport, unanimous idea of all the Upanishadic statements. Okay, that one. Second is it should be logically acceptable, but these two are not enough. These two are enough in case of dharma. Okay, these two are enough in case of dharma, in determining dharma, but in determining Brahma Swarupam, Atma Swarupam, these two are not enough. Third one has to be added, that is Anubhavadayascha Pramanam. Anubhava, universal experience, universal intuition is also most necessary, inevitable. Not only necessary, it is inevitable. Without referring to Anubhava, you can't determine the truth regarding Brahman, because Brahman is a universal experience, is a universal intuition. Therefore, that universal intuition has to be taken into consideration. And whether your understanding is correct or not will be known only when it tallies with universal experience, only when it matches with, only when it concurs with universal experience. You can't set aside universal experience and determine the nature of Brahman. That is possible with reference to regarding dharma. Regarding dharma, Upanishad, Vedic statements and logic, these two are enough. Anubhava is not possible because Anubhava is not possible regarding dharma. It is an adrishta phalam. But regarding Brahman, universal experience is possible and it is inevitable. One must refer to universal. See, Bhashakara says here, Shrutyadayo Anubhavadayascha iha pramanam. Therefore, referring to Anubhava is also inevitable because that also constitutes the valid means of knowledge, pramana. That also constitutes pramanam. Okay. Aparoksha Anubhava avasanatvat jignasaya yathahi shastraika samadigamya sitte sargadau tataparoksha aparokshayaitat janma prayukta sharire jayamano anubhavah sakshanopayujyate tatha jivatah swatmajnanepi swanubhavo nopayujyate ityashakyam vaktumati prasangat. Time is up. I think we'll take this point tomorrow. We'll discuss tomorrow. Small session of 35-40 minutes. Okay. We'll continue it tomorrow. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Tat Sat.